So, guys, tonight would be relatively informal. Unfortunately, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to prep for it, so mainly be just kind of general discussion about the event, and revisiting some of the topics from last month. But uh, before we do that, I have a big surprise for you guys. Is ready?
Yep, we're all eyes.
All right.
Woo!
So,
Drum roll.
um,
New
I have
radio for everybody.
actually built a new version of our website, and it is now live. So
Cool.
the this was the previous one. Looks very similar, but nowhere near as much content. And there was also, if you wanted to go to the wiki, it was like a separate page. Um, but this was on a free service called Weebly. That was just a really horrible, horrible platform. And if you wanted access to any of the decent tools or whatever, it required paying for them. And well, I didn't want to do that. So the new site is consolidated the wiki and the main website all into one. So there was really no point in maintaining two different sites. It was a lot of extra work. We've got, the ability to toggle back and forth between light mode and dark mode. Over here on the left are pages for each event. Some of them are built out, some of them are not. So, I could use some help with um, kind of going through some of the historical and converting some of the content. So basically what I've been doing is just a little bit at a time. I had all of the pages from the uh, APRS.org site archived off and kind of cherry picking content that seemed appropriate to bring forward and other content that just seemed like it wasn't worth coming forward. But there's quite a bit of historical information in here that I think is valid and valuable. My goal is to like take each page has notes from several years, and I would like to kind of consolidate those on the pages for the individual year as opposed to on the sites, and then keep the sites themselves a little bit more generic. I'm sure you notice there's actually like a lot of artwork that's on here too, so I wanted to keep the site a little bit more eye-pleasing than it was before. So I did find some artwork that I really liked, just on some random websites that I reached out to the artists, a couple of artists, to see if I could have permission to use it on the site. And of the two artists that I reached out to, neither one of them replied to me. So I ended up using something called Midjourney, which is an AI-based art bot, basically built into it's in Discord. So I've been paying $10 a month, and you can go out and say, I want a cartoon-looking drawing of Klingman's Dome, and you get this. Sometimes it does a better job than others. Like a hiker with ham radio at the top of Roan Mountain, for example. Um, oh, I forgot to put the Mount Washington picture in. Um, top of Mount Oglethorpe. So you can actually give it pretty specific instructions of what it is that you're looking for. And in about, I don't know, 30 to 60 seconds, you get four images, and then you can tell it to change the aspect ratio, or you want, instead of 1024 by whatever, you can upscale it and get a nice image. If you guys look at this on a mobile device too, it actually auto reformats, so it looks really nice on a mobile. I standardized too on links or kind of just like a template for each site. So you'll find that there's actually commonality as you go through from site to site. So coordinates in decimal degrees, DDM, DMS, this WGS spec, and then my favorite, the what three words, and everything. All these links are clickable, or for the most part. And then you can also navigate to site north or links north, south, just by clicking on these. And then if you click on the APRS IS object, it automatically takes you to aprs.fi for that location. So I've done that pretty much on every one of the active sites. Some of them I don't have artwork for yet. And probably what I'll end up doing is for the ones that that Bob had pictures for, I'm going to try and bring those over. So like Comer's, for example, he had the map at the top and the interstate highway map, and I'd like to reuse those for each. And then started building a section here for some of the inactive sites. We'll talk about Springer in a few minutes. That's a whole separate topic. I generated all new RF path analysis for this year. Not granted, not that the data changed much, but there were several paths that we've been missing in the past. And then there's also a couple of like historic ones that I wanted to show just so that we could show the improvement of switching from Hawksbill to White Rock. So John Kexforo, if it was not for him, I would not be able to use Radio Mobile. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I finally hacked my way through it enough that uh, I've gotten to a point where I can generate these, and that makes me happy. So there's all new ones here for all the paths. Um, so we can actually go through these and talk about these tonight too, because I think there are some that are worth looking at. Like this one's related to Springer, which, as I mentioned, we'll talk about a little bit more. Um,
Jeff,
yes.
pardon the interrupt, but leave it to me. The first two I clicked on look the same. AO Mountain to Hawksbill and AO Mountain to White Rock. Path analysis.
Are they the same? Yeah, they are. I can fix that.
Okay. I thought I was seeing things.
No, here, let me see
Leave,
here. So
leave.
this is actually how the site is built, if you guys are curious. So everything is done. I use Visual Studio Code as much as possible. So let's see here. So we've got AO Mountain to Hawksbill, and looks like, yeah, AO Mountain to Hawksbill. So if I come under static, uh, see here, where did I put them? Oh, AO Mountain to White Rock, GP White Rock. So I really should just need to change that one line. And then you guys actually get to see how the site is built. So our White Rock, and save that. And then this all gets pushed up to a let's see here if I can bring this down just a little because the zoom window is in my way. But all this gets pushed up to GitHub. So fixed site for which one was that? White Rock or AO Mountain to White
Uh,
Rock?
AO Mountain to White Rock, yeah.
So I commit that and sync it. All right, and then that, of course, updates GitHub. And then if I come over here real quick into Cloudflare, we can see that the build is already in process. So this will run for, I don't know, roughly 30 seconds or so. And then as soon as it says, your site successfully been deployed, if you refresh your browser, that will be fixed. So there it goes. It's already been compiled. Now it's been uploaded. And in just a second
Yep.
there, site was deployed. So if you refresh your browser now,
Yep. AO Mountain to White Rock is definitely different now.
there you go, fixed.
Sweet.
Yep, pretty easy tool to use. So yeah, I'd like to have some more contextual information. I'm also not opposed to collapsing these so that they're not all on separate pages. It may be helpful to have some of them more side by side.
Looks like you're missing some terrain data on some of those.
That's possible. I was going to call you, but I didn't feel like bothering you.
It's fine. I was chasing eclipses. Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
like the
I was working with it late on Sunday, and like I said, I was just happy to be able to get
Yeah, that's
through it
cool.
as well as I could. And I mean, I'm happy to just go through and tweak the ones that are not right. But if anybody has any suggestions or anything on to how to reorganize any of this, happy to. This was one I did just because I really wanted to figure out how to do this. So I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to get animated GIFs on the site because this static content engine doesn't support GIF images at all. But this diagram actually came from W8 LMF. So I was able to pull the animated GIF off of it. I like it. I think it provides a nice visual on how digis work. But I found the trick. So the trick is you actually have to host the content elsewhere. Um,
So it won't let you store any GIF.
you cannot store animated GIFs in the same repository. So now basically there's a separate GitHub repo that I have called static content, and all this repository has in it is literally that one GIF.
Wow.
So I'm not sure why they don't support animated GIFs, but regardless,
Where's my? Do they support unanimated GIFs?
I don't know.
Probably not. They're probably thumbing their nose at the patent holder of the GIFs.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Because
JPEG
nobody
and
should know any
PNGs
better.
are
It's
not
just
a
a
problem.
file.
Yeah,
But hey,
JPEG and PNGs aren't an issue, but I don't know why GIFs are a problem.
you worked around it. It's probably an attitude on their part, like Lynn said.
Yeah. So this site was actually built. Cloudflare basically just takes the code and runs it, but it's a static content generator called mkdocs. So if you know how to use Markdown, you can build sites really, really easily. So like if I just go look at the index page, so forget the HTML that's in there. But single pound sign or hash sign is the title, and then you've got heading level 2, level 3, and then if you want something to be in bold, you just surround it with two asterisks. URLs are formatted like this, and basically you just take this, and then it's mkdocs is Python code, and so then there's also mkdocs, a absolutely gorgeous plugin or theme for mkdocs, but it's far more than just a theme. It adds tons and tons of functionality on top of mkdocs. So we're going to use this for the foundation website and also for the APRS protocol specification for that the foundation is going to be publishing. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many really nice things that this does, and it just makes it really easy to make the site pretty. But animated GIFs evidently are a problem, or GIFs at all. So yeah, so that's the new site. I figured, it would be nice to have something a little fresher, newer. And oh, by the way, um, as you guys are actually hitting the site, I can see who's looking at it. So this is all pretty much real time in Google Analytics. So if I come back here to just home, it'll give me historic view. But if you click on view real time,
I knew I should have fired up tours just to throw them a curve.
go for it.
That'll be great for on site when people ask questions, have a little QR code or something. Send them right to it. See how many people respond.
It's a good idea. Yeah, so I'm thinking about like a lot of the docs that we distribute for the event, just sticking them out here now on the new site. And I mean, if you're not going to have internet access, obviously you can just keep a copy of it offline. I wanted to, I have to find the plugin for it, but this, there is a plugin to allow you to export in PDF format.
That'd be good.
What do you guys think?
Nice.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
Future proofed, I think. You have to be a little techie with it, but that's fine.
Yeah, by the way, the sign up sheet is down here, or at least the link to the sign up sheet. And then as the sign up sheet is updated, every like minute or two, this embedded version of the sign up sheet will automatically update. So you can't actually make changes here. You actually have to go to the sheet itself, but that's why it says live updating read only. It's a lot of work. It's been a lot of work, but I've been having fun doing it because I've always wanted to build a site like this. So it's kind of been like a pet project.
Did a great job.
I
Thank
will
you.
totally third that comment.
I know,
This-
like, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I like Klingman's, but it was funny. Jeff was saying it. Half of our work is talking to the people that come up and ask us what we're doing. So it'd be nice to have a laptop with that accessible so people can browse it while we're.
Yeah. We need a field marketing team is what we need.
Yep.
That was the worst part about working Klingman's is all the wacky questions that people come up and ask.
Well, that's why it's great to have somebody else along on the team and their job can be PR.
That's what Carlton was basically doing.
Yeah.
But I think he was getting annoyed too by the end of the day. I think what we need to do though this year is we need to actually log the questions that we get because I don't think people will believe some of the stuff that we hear.
Yeah, and then put it together as a fact for the next year.
There you go. Yeah, are
It
you
was
guys up here
interesting
doing
what-
missile testing? No, we're not. Nice
Are you
try.
looking
was-
for-
I was very
you-
surprised. A lot of the forestry guys were very acquainted with that. You know, I'm talking about Jeff, and they helped out a lot.
Yeah, there were a couple of guys that one guy in particular worked for a National Park Service who was a ham. So, because Greg had told me, he's like, don't stick anything in the ground, whatever. He's like, you'll piss them off. They'll come running up to you and tell you to pull it out of the ground. And this guy from National Park Service was like, as long as I can't tell it was here when you're done, do whatever you want.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can I suggest, in addition to the site that's, perhaps a little a lighter in vein?
Hmm.
How many of you guys remember that show Wild Kingdom? And they used to say, here we see the noble lion resting in the savannah kind of introduction. I think we need one. Here we see the wily senior ham ensconced on his couch in his natural habitat in Palm Bay, Florida.
I'm a shack potato, not a couch potato. I don't
Oh
have a
yeah, for any
couch in
guys
my
who weren't here
office.
for last month, I got an image for Lynn.
Yeah, we need this Lynn site on there. It's just as important as anything on the trail. talking starch. I love it.
I like it.
Oh, this was actually, you know what? This is the picture of Mount Washington that I really wanted to use. I have it. It's just I haven't added the link to it uh, in the code for the page. But you know, this Mid-Journey tool has been pretty amazing. If you guys aren't familiar with it, if you open up Discord, I can share a link with you guys if you're interested in it. But I mean, you basically go here and then you type in /imagine and then anything you want. So here, British Royal Foot Guard stands in front of Buckingham Palace as little girl gives him a daisy. Long shot, 4K, high res, shot in the style of analog film photography, right? And then it returns that in like 60 seconds. So not only does the $10 a month give me like priority over others, but it also gives a commercial license so that you can use the imagery.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So, anything else on the website?
I can springboard from the website into the other things. I just
Sure.
I took a look at the sign up sheet. It looks like we're still not certain on Bovina and Equinox.
Yeah. So, well, so Bovino is always gosh, where did the page go? I lost it. Oh, here we go.
John Rudolph.
Yeah, so that's always a manual or automated site.
Okay.
So I just have to reach out to John, make sure he's gonna still do that.
Yeah, switch the frequency over for us.
Yeah, and then Equinox. So Dwight did us a favor last year and went up there. Not only did he activate the site, but I think he went up a week or two beforehand. So he made 2 trips there last year. But Jeff Martin had some health issues, and I believe those continue. So I don't believe he'll be joining us this year. I hope he surprises us, but at least in based on what I know now, he won't be making it this year.
Okay. Well, that was my
Yeah.
observation. That was my observation on that one.
Yeah.
And the site RF path analysis. We were going to be talking about Springer.
Yes.
I love how you put in the lookout mountain to all the different points.
Yes.
And what I was going to point out is if you take a look at Lookout to Springer, which was actually Mount Oglethorpe,
Yeah.
you'll see that it's got a clear path to Springer. And if you look at Lookout to Klingman, it's got a pretty clear path to Klingman. So if we actually use Mount Oglethorpe, Lookout would actually be able to hit both of those
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. And it could cause some multipath confusion.
Yep.
But I understand Flip, is it?
Yep.
Is considering Springer optional
He is.
as a possibility. And if you look at Lookout to Springer optional, it looks like it really dampens down the Lookout hit to Springer. I don't think it would eliminate it, but it's certainly going to make it much less of an impact. And if you look at the Springer org, it's about the same.
Yep. Yeah, so
org is just-
Springer Oregon, Springer Opt. So there's, I don't know, like maybe a 300 or 400 foot elevation difference between the two.
And about 2 hours of hike slogging.
Well, that too, yeah.
And so if we take the same look and go to Klingman, if we look at Springer to Klingman, that would be actually the Mount Oglethorpe link.
Yep.
And you'll see it grazes the mountain right there at the beginning. But if you look at Springer Opt to Klingman, it is a gorgeously clear path.
Yes.
And Springer Org to Klingman is about the same, but as you can see, it just jumps a little higher over that first hill on the left-hand edge.
Yeah, so I
So
think irrespective of which one Flip goes to, we'll be in good shape to Klingman.
yeah, you'll be in good shape to Klingman, and it will actually help knock down a little bit from Lookout.
Yep,
So if
that's
there's
exactly what I
any,
was thinking too.
yeah, and Springer optional. I mean, that is just such a gorgeous sight. You just sit there over the meadow all morning.
Yep, it's a huge open field. I don't know if you guys saw the photo that Flip shared.
Yeah, the panorama was quite nice with your car off on the left right hand side.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was
Or the tick.
I actually took that one. Um, hang on a second here. Let me bring something else up. Oh, here we go. Okay, let me resume share. So there's that, and then this is my first attempt at the panorama, and then the second one ended up a lot better. Kind of
Yeah.
looks a little hourglassy, but not too shabby. So yeah, the parking, there's like 3 or 4 parking spaces along the edge here, and then just big, massive open field. So it's a good spot. I don't think, I mean, unless people come out here and want to play soccer or something, I think it'll be a great spot for him to activate. Otherwise, I mean, he's free to go up to the top of Springer if, he wants the total effect.
Yeah, I would leave it up to him because Springer Opt and Springer Org are about the same as far as their visibility to both Klingman and lack of visibility to Lookout,
Right.
which is to my mind a benefit, just to keep the confusion down at the south end.
Yep. Yeah. So if you go on APRS.fi, it's a little easier to see it here. But distance wise, I mean, so there's actually this government service road, they call it, is it Blue Ridge Road? So it's about, I think it's like 6 or 7 miles in from this Doublehead Gap Road. So this is the road
Okay.
that we came in off of, and then hit that government service road. And even though it's only 6 miles, it took about 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's dirt and gravel and mud, as I recall.
Yes. So, but this is like 4 or 5 minute drive from the parking lot to Springer Opt. And then and we asked somebody and they said no, that this wasn't the AT, but it really is. So when you park here, there's probably about 20 or 30 parking spaces. But this is all uphill,
Yep.
all the way
And
up.
when you get to the top, there is a nice plaque on a rock commemorating the start of the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, but technically speaking, the Mount Oglethorpe used to be.
It used to be, and like your one history lesson said, they moved it. Still, a lot of hikers will spend the night at Mount Oglethorpe and then hike from there up to Springer to start their southern end of the Appalachian Trail.
Hmm. Yeah, I could definitely see that. So it was like, I measured this, it was about 12 and a half miles as the crow flies,
Mm-hmm.
but it's about an hour drive.
Yeah, the roads just don't go where you want them to go up there.
They do not, but it sure is beautiful. So Flip and Ben, KO4DSD, I don't think Ben is going to be involved this year, but Flip definitely is. So when they went up to Mount Oglethorpe last year, and basically they both just said it didn't feel like the AT, and so they wanted something that was a little bit more I don't know, rustic, a little bit more AT-like. So it was, do we return to actual Springer this year? And it seems like we're going to do it, unless anybody
So
has any concerns.
I think it's great. Do you know if there's cell service at Springer Opt?
There is no cell service at either.
Well, Springer Org, there was cell service, but you had to walk a little bit down off the crown on either side, and then the cells worked fine.
What provider or
That was AT&T back then.
okay. Yeah, so Flip and I were on Verizon and I barely had one bar in some spots, but most of it was no service.
Yeah, well, it was crazy because at the very top, there was basically no bars and no service. But as soon as you walked over the edge, boom, you had 3 or 4 bars and phone calls worked perfectly fine. I think the at the top it was hearing too many cells to make a choice,
Mm,
and you
yeah,
had to
that's
block some
possible.
of them out. So that's a trick for any of you that are up on the top and are not getting cell. Just kind of find a good block, go just drop it down 50 feet or so somewhere and see if your phone picks up something better.
So then this would be the AT down to the parking area. Yep, so here's the parking lot.
Yeah, just don't do what my son and his friend did in their second year. On the return to the parking lot, they took a right-hand turn off the trail onto a different trail and walked out that way for like 45 minutes before they figured out that they weren't on the AT anymore
Oops.
and had to walk the whole way back to the AT and then walk back to the parking. They were not happy campers, dragging all their gear, of course.
Well, this is Springer Opt. This is that big open field. And then we just calculated the direction to Klingman's and it was basically this way.
Yeah. And you're so high up, those trees fall off rapidly on the other side of the meadow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, so we found that there were some really, really tall evergreens. You can see them here. So I suggested that he bring some paracord with him and get it up in the tree. And then he's got a Diamond X30 or X50, and he can pull that straight up into the tree and then just drop a piece of coax down. So I ended up getting a second D710G. He does not have a Kenwood, and he's been looking at eBay pretty much daily for one. And I said, just don't stress about it. I'll let you use my other one. So he's good to go. And then Carlton and I will be at Clemens. And then we've got who is it at Lookout?
John Creno.
Yeah, John Creno. So John lives in Kentucky, but planned on coming down to Lookout Mountain. He actually specifically requested Lookout Mountain a few months ago. And we had it on our kind of to-do list for a few years. So this year we figure we'll add it. I reached out to Don Arnold too to see if he'll iGate for us. He was grumbling something about he might do it. So regardless, Carlton and I will iGate at Klingman's, and I'm going to see if I can prep Flip to do it.
Okay. If Flip has cell coverage.
So yeah, there's a digipeater that is in the area. Now, I was getting a really, really strong signal from the Digi on the walk up to Springer Original, but it was I wasn't receiving packets strong enough to decode at Springer Optional.
Okay. That was on an HT with a rubber
I had
deck.
my Icon, my 705 with me just so I could
okay.
get the I just wanted to keep an eye on the spectrum display, the waterfall, just to see what was in the vicinity of 144.
Right.
So I could see little bursts, but then when I was up on the trail like halfway up to Springer Original. I mean, you could definitely hear that it was actually digipeating packet. There were packets being digipeated like really, really close together. Two short bursts.
So you were probably hearing the original and the digipeat.
Correct. So I figure, I mean, if he can get the antenna up high enough, or he brings two antennas, you know, he could potentially digipeat or iGate to. Can't you iGate to another digipeater or no? No, that wouldn't work.
No.
Yeah.
If you get real creative, you could probably pull off a crossband digipeat, receiving on the golden packet frequency and transmitting on the national frequency.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of along the lines of what I was thinking.
Yeah, but that really wouldn't work just with a radio.
Yeah, because you would
Because
effectively need to have two radios because crossbanding will only work like VHF to UHF or UHF to VHF if it's the same radio, right?
no, you can play games with the transmit offset.
Oh,
Berninga
You
has a
just-
whole webpage on that. I've used it for special events. Works pretty well.
really?
Yeah.
Who has a website for that?
It's some old page. It's probably in the archive.org at this
Okay.
point. But he called it. If you ever look at his setups for the 700 or the 710, he always puts 5 channels in there with, you know, your basic APRS, your APRS with 100 hertz tone,
Yeah, there wasn't there like a plus 50 or
and
something?
plus 600. So it's the typical 600 split. So 990 would be the input, which is good because it's quiet and it just broadcasts back on 390. And he says that's okay for a special event to blindly just transmit.
Yeah, that won't work real well for the golden packet though, because if we're not likely to be in range of an iGate, but we're more likely to be in range of a digipeater. But that digipeater is not going to understand our hop 7 path.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the crossband digipeat is actually going to have to receive it off the golden packet frequency, modify the path to insert a wide 2-1 hop in there, and then put it back out on the national frequency.
That could be done with direwolf though, right?
It can be done with APRS IS32.
Okay.
Because I get very flexible in the way you can configure digipeating and what happens when you get a recognized component. So yeah, a standalone radio is not going to be able to pull that off though.
Okay.
Well, we only need one of those somewhere on the trail, right?
The more points that I have feed from, the easier it is to tell what's shaping up and where holes are. If I only have one feed from the middle of the trail, I can't figure out where the hole might be.
But Klingman's, we can pick up Springer like no problem.
Yes.
The thing I'm thinking is hopefully by the time of the golden packet, the APRS digipeater on Mount Washington will be an iGate.
That would be nice. And then you can pull off the crossband digipeat.
If you help me set it up,
How many APRS radios do you have?
well, let's see, I have a 710 and a 710G, and then I have like a D74, and I have other radios I can do with direwolf.
A D72 or a D75 would be sweet because we could put that on extra low power and sit it over to the side and let it crossband digipeat without putting desensing back onto the golden packet station itself. I have to do some thinking on that, but there's interesting
Anyway, if you
things
help
can
me
be pulled
set it
off.
up, I'll take my van up there so I can plug lots of equipment.
Okay.
That would be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I had my radio last year, but trying to configure it. I had it actually set up it was a second radio. It was in my truck, but I had it digipeating from 3.4 to 3.9, and it was immediately getting into an iGate. So it was working, but because I didn't have to go through a digipeater, but I shut it off because I was on the phone with Lynn and we weren't sure it was going to work, but I've since played around with it and verified as long as it's not close enough, it's able to get in there as long as I have an eye gate close by.
Right. As long as it's an eye gate, the simple crossband will do the trick.
Yeah, which is nice about GD Hill. It's because there's one close by.
Is this the original GD Hill or the proposed alternate GD Hill?
It would work for either one, just because both of them, the antennas would be higher than the eye gate.
Okay, wonderful.
I forgot about the proposed GD Hill.
And I'm gonna, if I can, I'm gonna try and get up there to at least get up on the new site with the 710 and just have it beaconing out on 139, just or on 39, just to see what kind of locations I'm hitting and getting eye gated from, just to kind of get a little bit of an analysis and see what eye gates are close by.
Ron, these are you had two different sets of coordinates so these are two new locations.
Yeah, so the one is the shelter. It's a little bit, it's like 5 meters higher. So that's the one I would go to. I was just playing around with the parking lot one because it was easy to drive up and get to, but it's a quarter-mile walk up a whopping whole 45 or 15 whatever that is, either 15 feet or 15 meters. I can't remember which one, or it might be 5 meters. So my plan is if I can get away and get up there, to just, go up to the site with the radio and just start beaconing and, let you and Lynn know. So you can at least either monitor and while I'm there, send some messages back and forth through APRS just to verify that's working, or at least if you have the time, you can go back and check logs, if I understand correctly, Lynn.
Yeah, I have some jobs that run here that record all the APRS IS traffic 24/7, and also the RF backhaul from APRS IS 32 eye gates is also recorded. One thing, do you know how to use one of the echo servers on APRS IS to see if you've got bidirectional message coverage?
I don't know if I'm not positive of that.
Okay, if the one I like to use is whois or who-15.
Okay.
You just send a call sign to WHO-15.
Right. Okay.
And it will reply back with that person's name and state, I think it is. It replies back with a one-liner.
Okay.
And that has been the most robust auto answer that's on the IS. And it's just a very handy way when you're on RF to send a message out there and see if you get the response back. If you don't get the response back, you're either not in range of an eye gate or you're in range of a receive only eye gate.
Got it. Okay. Quick question on that. Can I do
the shelter out here in the middle of the woods? Or
yeah, yep. It's right there. There's an actual if you remember the original email, I think I may have sent a picture of there's an actual shelter up there, table and some other stuff. It's like one of those shelters along the Appalachian Trail that hikers can kind of
it's
go
a lot of
crashing
foliage
for the night.
That's not going to be an issue.
I don't know. That's why I want to get up there. I want to get up there and try it because I know on Hawksbill it was around there, and I'm going to take 24 feet of what is it? 6 of those 4 foot, 5 of the 20 feet of tent pole or whatever you want to call them, mast, and try and get the thing set up there and see how it works.
Okay.
You were going to ask a clarification on something?
What was that?
Somebody was asking a question. I cut them off. Sorry. I don't know who it was.
I know I was talking, so if anybody else wants to jump in, go ahead. Yeah, I was looking at this. That's one of the things I did on the radio mobile. Hopefully, it didn't seem like it was any kind of degradation. It's up higher, and it seems like going north to Camelback, even though there's the vegetation. My understanding is radio mobile takes that into account as well. But yeah, there was that picture. And then you compare, Maryland Mountain and GD Hill, and then you can compare Maryland Mountain to the shelter.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm not an expert on the radio mobile, but they looked like they were given essentially the same type of how do you call it? Link. It seemed like the link was about the same.
And this
It's
is
in,
MD Mountains to GD Hill, but we don't have anything for GD Hill to oh, we do have GD Hill
yeah,
to
it's there.
Camelback. Okay.
Yeah, so you got GD Hill to Camelback, and you can see between those two, the center line just goes straight through those double hills. But if you look at the
Yeah, a lot of yours on the website, Jeff, just have a round earth.
Yeah, that's where I think John was saying that I'm missing some terrain data.
but I have the GD Hill to Camelback, and I also have the shelter to Camelback slides on my email that you have there.
It's weird that some of them have it and some of them don't. I'll have to go back and see what I missed.
Yeah, if you see GD Hill to Camelback, you can see the green line that goes straight through those two mountaintops, but it still works.
Okay.
So if you go to GD Hill to, or not GD Hill, if you go to shelter to Camelback, and I don't know if it's above it or below it.
Here we go.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
There, you can see that green line is above everything.
Oh, that's much better. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I like the look of that a whole lot better.
But the
Yeah.
Maryland, yeah, and if you go that shelter to Maryland Mountains compared to GD Hill to Maryland Mountains, to me they looked essentially electronically the same and visually almost the same.
Yeah, I don't think the MD Mountains had ever been an issue.
Yeah. No,
I think
no,
there was question as to whether or not, like a couple of years ago, there was question as to whether or not it was Hawksbill or MD Mountains that was our problem child. But then I think we ruled that it was Hawksbill.
Yeah.
And then looking at the site plans, it was pretty dead obvious that Hawksbill was the problem.
Yeah. But yeah, so the big question is if you guys are good with it, I'd like to do the shelter, and if you can compare the analysis between Maryland Mountains to the shelter and Maryland Mountains to GD Hill, and to me they looked essentially the same.
Guess I'm going back to Radio Mobile later tonight or tomorrow. John, maybe I can connect with you. You can help me figure out what I did wrong, or you probably already know.
Yeah, we can talk later.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, by the way, John spent like 2 hours with me back in January going over Radio Mobile. And so I recorded our conversation, and that way I was able to go back through. But evidently I missed something.
And yeah, obviously if you compare the shelter, if you redo mine with and it looks the same, then at least I know I did okay. But
yeah,
if you see something, if you do something different, because I picked an antenna height of, I think, 21 feet for both locations, assuming that would have 20, like I said, the 20-foot mast sections that I would put up and put the antenna on top of it. And it would be like, what I think it's the Diamond X50, if that my memory's right.
Great antenna.
Yeah, that's the one that I used when I did Hawksbill in 2019. I was just so happy I wasn't the weak link that year.
Right. 14437146921.
Looks like everything didn't. Ah. Hope you don't get motion sickness. All right.
Well, while Jeff's looking at all that, does anyone else here on the call have any questions about plans, equipment, locations, life, universe, or everything?
I have an equipment question.
Go ahead.
And my equipment question is, for some of these sites, I don't think I'm the only guy here with this interest. It'd be really nice to have a filter for the APRS frequency that you could put in the transmission line. So in case you have other RF sources on the mountain, they wouldn't overload the receivers so, I don't want to go spend, $10,000 on a cavity filter, but if somebody had a design that, we could test and all use, I think many of the mountains, including Mount Washington, would benefit from having some kind of inline filter. I was curious if anybody has any thoughts on that.
The one that has been used in the past, many years ago, there was a company called OCI. It's still around. It's a Canadian company.
Yep,
They make bandpass filters,
that's what I'm about to show you. Yeah, they're fantastic.
and they're very inexpensive. They're not ultra cheap, but $200 will get you one shipped to your house for 2 meters, 144 to 148.
There
We
we
use
go.
them on our repeaters with success, and they don't list it, but they have one also that is dual band. So 144 to 148, and then I guess it's the upper 10 megahertz maybe of the UHF band. Perfect for a dual band radio, so you get all the benefits, but the bands of interest are open for like your D710. There it is. I
That's
have
Gorgeous
many
piece
of
of hardware.
those. Those things are a problem solver for my repeater work.
And you
That
can
looks-
get them with PL259 on them instead of N. But I didn't realize that he made a dual band one. I called him and asked him, and he said that he did not, but I'll maybe ask him again.
Yeah. It depends on who you talk to. They used to list it as a product, but then they stopped for some reason. But anyway, as far as Mount Washington goes, this would go far to helping things a lot.
There's also plans that I had shared a while back. Let me see if I can find these. Helical bandpass filter. The guy who built this, he's actually got a video on
Right.
YouTube on how to do it. But if you wanted to build one on the cheap, you could do this.
Yeah, well, I don't want to. Yeah, I am a cheap ham. What can I say? I come from Maine, Yankee here, cheap Yankee.
I'm gonna
But
say if you want to do it on the cheap, I
yeah.
wasn't saying you are cheap.
no,
But
no,
I can
I'm
say
saying
that
I
if you
am
want,
cheap.
you're cheap.
Well, no, it's
Iffy.
like $200. If I have to do it, I'll do it. But the other thought I have is I don't really want a band pass filter for the whole 2 meter band. What I want is something that just basically passes the golden packet frequency or the APRS frequency, right? A much narrower bandwidth. And of course, with one of these, I could tune it.
Right.
I don't know if
The-
anybody else has an interest in making some of these.
I mean, you can tune this too, but you really gotta have an analyzer to do it right.
Yeah, that's clearly meant to be a what's the term? A pre-selector for the
Mhm.
band.
Right.
Quick question about using the iGate 2 Pro app and the SDR.
I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with the iGate 2 app on the SDR, but go ahead.
iGate 2 Pro has a SDR program for APRS. You just plug with your phone into RTL SDR right into your phone. Would that be a functional iGate?
I'm
Do
reading
Lynn's
about it
app.
right now, and it says it's a mobile app that performs a receive-only APRS iGate. So yes, I wouldn't see a problem with that. What you'd want to do is set it up and try it, of course, and put your SDR on the event frequency and fire up your event station on the event frequency, and then see if your event station's packets make it to the APRS IS and or APRS.FI. Because they would, since you're on the event frequencies, they would only show up if iGate 2 Pro is actually doing what it says it does. So you can actually test that on the event frequencies before you go on site and know that it's actually going to work. Do you know if you have internet coverage at the site?
Nah.
Because it's going to need that, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. We might have an alternate location where we could set that up and then just have it listening off-site, which,
That would work too.
Yep,
yeah.
as long as it's within
I'm
earshot of
actually,
your event station.
yeah, I'm thinking of converting. I've got another in our area. We've established a second APRS, so mine is actually available to change over to frequency. It's over on Cowie, which is on the en route to the Klingman's. So I'm thinking of changing over the frequency, and that gates to the internet. So
Yeah, just make sure it's in receive only mode if it normally transmits.
Roger.
So I had something else I need to go over before we start losing people on the call, and that's the captain's role. So I'm not necessarily asking for people to do double duty if you're going to be out on the trail. But if you know of someone, it would be a huge help for me to have some assistance this year, especially with what I've got going on with my arm. So, I don't think it's a very long list of things to do. It would really make a huge difference on me, though.
I reached
Um,
out to one of the guys up here in Stafford
mhm.
who wants to take. He hasn't responded back yet. I reached out to him earlier this week, but he's always interested in the Appalachian in the Golden Packet, and he's talked about coming out to last year or this year, et cetera. But so I offered that to him because I know he wants to participate, but this might be a way to get him involved.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me. There's 220 people, less myself, 219 people in the group, and there's like 20 of us that go out on the trail. It's
Yeah.
just amazing that you can't find three people. I want to
A
start
lot of
paring
people,
this list down. There's a lot of people that are here that are completely inactive. Some recent additions here, but there are folks that have been on the list since the beginning, and you can see that they haven't been active based on the NMM next to their name because that means they've never sent a message.
yeah, we have a lot of kibitzers.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about, with all the spare time going through and pruning this.
All the spare time.
Yeah.
How about I'm just going to throw an email out to the Golden Packet list and just say, look, you all are sitting out there. You don't have to be anywhere near the trail.
Yep.
You just have to be willing to keep tabs on a group of people and have them contact you. You contact them and make sure they're getting on site, not getting on site, get the times of them, and relay it to me. That's all we're asking them to do is coordinate a small handful of people on the day of the event, and of course, make contact with them before the event.
That's it. Oh,
And
and double check with them just to make sure that everybody's done testing before they go out.
yes, so I'm gonna just throw that email out to the list and see what
Please do.
I expect it'll go thud, but we'll find out.
Equipment standard.
It can't hurt.
And then,
Yeah, I
I
missed
mean,
the comment.
ideally, I'd like to see some redundancy at the sites. I know that may be a lot to ask, but um, several of the sites do have at least two people. But, well, Glenn, I know you always implicitly have Bill Perkins out there with you if Glenn is still on. I saw him earlier. He may have dropped off. But Bill is always out there with him. But Frank at Comer's would love to have a secondary. Jason, I mean, I know we can count on you to be out there. Um, Ron, do you know anybody who could come with you?
No, not right now. Um, I I'm trying to find the guy's call sign from last year. I don't know if I put it in any of my messages. I may have just put in my after action, just I don't know if I put the guy's call sign or name. I'm gonna have to look at it, but he was up in Pennsylvania and he came out. You know, there are at least two hams that climbed the tower to chat with me.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's some
So they
interest,
weren't
but
actually signed up for the event.
no. But I think part of it is some people don't like the idea of being up in the tower, which I don't either. But you know, because you're kind of isolated up there, and you know if you want to get down, you got to leave your equipment up there, and or you set it up down there with the long antenna wire, and then hope nobody comes up and tells you to take this stuff down in the middle of the event.
You didn't include it in your trip report, did you?
I don't remember if I did or not. I remember saying that a fellow ham came by, two of them had, but I don't well, actually. One was a helicopter pilot that we served at the same time, and the other guy, but I don't remember putting the guy's name down somewhere.
KC3QEH,
That might be it.
JJ.
Yep, that's it. JJ.
Okay.
All
Well,
right, so
got it here. See,
I'll
this is
reach-
the beauty of the postmortem.
Yep. See, I actually did something right.
Look at that.
So okay, I'll do that, and then I will reach out to him and kind of get an idea because he said he's part of the group, and that's how he knew what was going on because he's part of the group. But you know, obviously he's quiet. You said it's Kate. What is it? KC3QEH.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, he is a member of the group since February 23.
Hey, Jeff, can I
Jeremy.
get you to check your chat? Yeah, someone volunteering to be a captain, and then also the question about equipment standards in there. So please take a look at the chat.
Oh, okay. Great. So this is Joe, AC3JM. Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Let's see here. A question about equipment standards outside of Kenwood gear. What is considered standard? So that's a great question, and that was something that we actually set out to do something about. And John, this is actually a perfect segue for
Do you
you.
want me to pick
Yeah,
up on that?
So you want to talk about what the appliance is first and then cover what's going on? Because great question, John.
Sure. Well, let's just to review the bidding. Initially, Bob, in order to ensure the maximum chance of success for the Golden Packet, wanted to standardize equipment. And he basically wanted everyone out there with Kenwood equipment, because the feeling being that some brought Kenwood and some brought Yaesu and this and that, the chance of success went down dramatically. So that's why, with the exception of Katahdin, basically everybody's had a 700 or 710. So for this year, the intent is that we're going to start with standard Kenwood radios. Hopefully everybody will bring a Kenwood radio to start with. And then once we've achieved the Golden Packet being passed using the Kenwood radios, that's when we'll enter the next phase where we test other gear, basically the appliance or other things. But we don't want someone coming up with, say, only a Yaesu radio, because we know Yaesu doesn't do APRS the same way as Kenwood does. That's correct, isn't it, Lynn, that a Yaesu radio by itself would not be successful? Well, you can chime in, Lynn, I think. In other words, you have to
So
probably
yeah, I mean the APRS support built into the ASU is not going to have the UI flood, and so
right.
so it won't
It's just
work.
not
But
gonna
with
work.
Direwolf, it's a different story.
Okay, but we want to start with everybody, if possible, bring your Kenwood. Once we're successful at the Kenwoods, then we move to the next phase where we use APRS appliances. So you want me to talk about the appliance at this point, Jeff?
Sure.
Okay, the original appliance was done by Don Rolfe, what, 2 years ago now, and it's written up in the QEX article. So anybody that's new, you can read the article from QEX. And basically what it consists of is you need an interface card between your radio and the Raspberry Pi, and that's a Dyna card, which is similar to a like a is it MobiLink?
So
Anyway,
it's like a digi-rig. Yeah. So
like a digi-rig, excuse me. So in other words, one side is the mini DIN connector that connects to the radio, and the other side is a USB that plugs into your Raspberry Pi, and it takes the bleeps and bloops from the audio coming out of the radio both ways, in and out, and converts it to USB signals for the Raspberry Pi. Then on the Raspberry Pi, what we use is Direwolf, because we know Direwolf can do all the things we need to do, like UI flood, etc. John put a bunch of work into that 2-3 years ago to make sure Direwolf could fully support us. And then you can use a program like Lynn's APRS IS32 to look at what's going on and see it displayed on the map and whatnot. And so the basic, the appliance configuration, which has been tested, is what's written up in QEX. Now we're looking to find additional configurations. In fact, I'm going to be talking to Jason after this call because he has some hardware solutions as an alternative to using Direwolf. And we have a committee to test these things, and I had asked that if anybody had an alternate thing they wanted submitted for this year to send it to me by April 1st, and no one submitted anything. So as it stands right now, the only tested appliance is the one that's written up in the QEX article. But I'm open, we still have time. If somebody else has something else you want to suggest, please send it to me. We'll try to get it tested. But the idea is that there's two phases. Phase one is you use your Kenwood. We pass the packet, so we have success. Phase two is testing of appliances. And the idea is if you're on your mountain, you say, okay, we passed the packet. I'm going to shut off the Kenwood and turn on my appliance. And we still passing the packet? And if you cause a break in the chain at that point, what we want you to do is turn off your appliance and turn your Kenwood back on so other mountains can test. Because there's no point in you putting up your appliance, breaking the chain, and then everybody's out of luck at that point. So the fallback in the phase two is just bring your Kenwood back online so the other mountains can test. And hopefully we have time, and we should be able to test several different things or multiple configurations. And the idea is that you don't just show up on the day of the event with something and say, oh, I put it together last night. We want you to test it ahead of time. You want you to coordinate with your team captain, so the team captains all know who's going to be testing what at which sites, so it can be a coordinated test. Anything you'd like to add there, Jeff?
Yeah, so just kind of like the short version of this is that we wanted an alternative for people who don't have Kenwood radios. So the idea is that with a Raspberry Pi, an audio interface that we have actually tested and validated, and Direwolf, along with any radio that has like a mini DIN 6-pin connector on it, which will allow access to the discriminator, can be used in place of a Kenwood radio. So
adding to the proviso, the radio has to support 9600 baud.
Yeah. So but the radio itself needs to support it, or because the radio is just providing audio, or it is the RF, right?
Well, no, the thing is, out of that mini DIN connector, if you look at many radios, they have two tap points for the audio. Some come out of the IF discriminator and some come out later in the audio change. There's things like filtering and pre-filtering and emphasis and de-emphasis. So for instance, I remember like years and years ago, Alinco had a 9600 baud radio and they had a 1200 baud radio. So the idea here isn't it's not like the day before find some radio and just bring it up and assume it's going to work. You have to test it because sometimes you take it out of a different pin on that connector for the 9600 baud than the 1200
Yeah,
baud.
so if you let us know which radio or radios you have, we can help you determine whether or not it will be a viable option. And then that'll basically give you an indication as to whether or not it makes sense to go further with building and testing something, or or don't bother, because we don't want you to necessarily go out and spend the money to build one of these if we know right away that it's not going to work. But
And we'd rather do that testing sooner rather than later. The time to do that is
but as
not-
far as like but before you get to the point of testing, right, we can help him determine whether or not it's something that we think is going to work with it before he spends money on a
Exactly.
Raspberry Pi and he spends money on an audio interface. So he can get to the testing later, but at least get through that part of it. But yeah, definitely not testing like a day or two beforehand.
Right. Don't go out July 4th weekend to buy a radio. Email it to me now. We have a committee. We have people on the committee to help test. And ideally, it's not just you're going to build it in your shack and assume it's going to work. You're going to get together with another ham from another mountain or something and try to run some test. Hopefully you're testing in May and June, not in July.
So John N3, is that XO or XXD? Where are you located? And you can type it in the chat. That's fine. I know your microphone's not working. Vine Grove, Kentucky. Okay. Oh, you're going to be you're going down to Lookout. Okay, got it. Yeah, we can talk about it. That's fine. But then yeah, we'll get you in touch with John. So the other part, so John is going to be talking with Jason, who built a hardware device. We did already qualify this Dyna, but I have personally used this. This is a fantastic audio interface, a DigiRig. And I can attest firsthand that this works at 1200 and 9600. It is solid. So I feel comfortable recommending this as an alternative to the Dyna. I've used it with my ICOM 7100. And both there's a mini DIN 6, and then I think it's a 13 pin. So I've tested both connectors on the back of the 7100 and it worked with both of them. And then I guess, so as far as, I guess, so John, Tarbox, it's the discriminator ultimately that we need access to, right?
Well, here's the point. Like on the DigiRig, to the mini DIN connector, they sell cables. You want to bring the cable up?
Yes. There's
They
all
sell
different
cables
ones depending on what radio you
different
have.
radios. But if you pick the one to the DIN connector there, there's one right there, isn't it?
Well,
The
it depends
Yaesu-
on which radio it is, because these are all
Yes.
manufacturer specific.
And they're also speed specific. So the 1200 baud cable will not work at 9600 baud. You have to make sure that when you order it, you tell them you want a 9600 baud cable because it's coming off a different pin in the DIN connector.
So what I did, and I think it's pretty much what everybody did, was I can type, was we went on to MobileLink, and then you can buy this adapter and it just sits in line, and this will convert from 9600 to 1200 or vice versa. But
Yeah,
I think based on what John Langner was saying this year is we shouldn't even bother with the 1200. We should just make sure whatever we have supports 9600 and stay at that.
Exactly.
Yeah, if your connection is to the discriminator, you can do 1200 or 96. You don't have to switch to the 1200. It's just convenient to have 1200, but you can do 1200 just as effectively on the 9600 baud pin.
Right.
It just doesn't work the other way around.
Right.
And it's one less point of confusion, one less thing to worry about. You know, if
We're
you're
just
up
doing
there,
9600 this year anyway, so
right. Right. You know, the KISS concept, keep it simple. Don't take 50 cables up with you if you can get it by with one cable.
So not 1200 works on a 9600 pre-discriminator, right?
mhm.
Sure.
Yep.
Just did some reading and apparently the Kenwood radios actually do not pre-emphasize their audio on 1200 even. They transmit flat audio.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Somebody's
but
doing
you
it
also
right.
got to worry about the receive chain, right?
Yeah, Kenwood's nice on that because they pull it off before the squelch as well. So their TNC is always receiving, whether or not you're hearing anything.
Right.
I don't know what this USB isolator device is that they sell. Oh, eliminates noise caused by ground loops. Interesting. I've never seen that before.
Lynn, I wonder if that's why 9600 works better in the 710s than the 1200. They both work well, but 9600 has always been superior.
I would agree with that if it was going to non-Kenwoods, but if it's Kenwood to Kenwood, that really wouldn't explain why 96 is better than 12.
So it's other reasons then.
It would seem to be, yeah. I'd really like to see some actual detailed lab work be done on that sometime because I've heard it a lot anecdotally, but what's the show me state?
Missouri?
Missouri.
Yeah, I'm an honorary Missourian when it comes to.
I've only witnessed it once when I was at Apple Orchard trying to get the Hawks bill. We had to move it around like we always have to do and got it 1200 working. And then we switched to 9600 after it was over, just me and Hawksbill, and it just boom worked. And we were both
Yeah,
like,
and
it's not supposed to be that way.
yeah, but when you're in the field, I mean, 2 meter propagation is variable. And I can see that just here with my iGate antenna is only about 20 feet off the ground. It's a J pole. It's purposely not very high. And there are times that I hear the Polk County digipeters loud and clear, and there are times that I'm not copying them at all. And there's no change on either end except propagation. So it could be that just between the event and the end of the event, it cleared up on 2 meters.
A doubter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my mother's maiden name was Thomas, and my dad's mom's maiden name was Thomas. Call me Doubting Thomas, I'll answer.
I don't remember what month Don's article was actually
Wasn't it
published.
September?
Yeah, I'm
September,
trying to go
October.
through this stupid magazine navigator that ARRL has, and I can't even find how to find previous issues.
Well, we could probably get the PDF of it and get it out to people somehow.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Posted on the Golden Packet site, which Jeff, I don't know if you noticed, I put in the chat a suggestion that you put links to the bandpass filter out there somewhere too.
Yes.
Oh, sure. The one to make or the one to buy?
Both.
Both. Okay,
Yeah.
can do that.
Would it be a good suggestion to have everybody in their location set up an iGate close to their thing?
I think Leno said the more the merrier.
The more the merrier, and I actually have an ulterior motive for suggesting, if you can, that it be an APRS IS32 iGate. Because Normally, iGates go through the APRS IS and it does duplicate suppression. And the whole point of the iGates on the Golden Packet event is so that I can see the RF packets, not just the first copy of the packet. APRS IS-32 actually has a UDP backhaul to my server for every packet ever received on any RF port. So if you have an APRS IS-32 iGate, receive only, I get to see every packet, no matter how many hops it came down the trail, no matter how many other iGates have actually relayed it to me, I get to see them all.
How
And
much of a
it's
historical backlog do you maintain?
like I said, I'm recording 24/7 the RF backhaul for forever,
Wow.
as well as the APRS IS 24/7
How
for
much
forever.
disk space do you use up?
Oh, that's a drop in the bucket compared to what I use. It's all
Okay.
text. Remember, this is they're sourcing at 1200 baud. Yeah, they're sourcing at 1200 baud planet
Yeah,
wide,
it's
but
highly
still,
compressible. Got it. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's tiny stuff. It's not video or JPEGs or anything like that.
So
Yeah, so you
ultimately,
guys
it
probably
would,
probably noticed that there's a section of the new website for the appliance, and so the goal is to start adding details about the build here. I don't know that we can publicly share the QEX on the external website, but we can probably get away with doing it in groups.io.
Right. Carlton, you were going to ask a question?
no, I'm saying it would probably be a good suggestion, like then everybody from their locale have an APRS iGate using your software, both on 1296 at their homes. Is that safe to say that it's within reach of any of the locations on the AT that we're going to?
That's the real big question. I have the coverage to homes from the sites on the trail is always a question. So anyone that thinks they're within RF range, simplex RF range of a trail station, by all means can consider doing it. I'll be glad to help them know how to set it up.
Yeah,
It's
that
just a matter
that
of,
seems like a good suggestion that everybody have that set up either through an SDR or just a radio or such, especially for 9600. That might be something that we push for. That way we know that we got at least some kind of coverage for the gating.
I'm pushing more for people to have the equipment to take on site and test that equipment before getting on site. The iGates are nice to have. Operating stations on the trail are required. So I hesitate to make people's lives more complex than they need to be when we're looking for volunteers and having trouble finding them.
I'm actually going to push at our local ham club, talking about the AT.
Please do. The sooner the better.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a bunch around here, but see, a lot of the local hams would be interested in staying home and gating and getting them interested in doing that. That would be something that we could push for. That would be a little bit more easy to access people wise
And
resources.
And if you've got 2 or 3 or 4 people that want to do it, I'd be willing to set up a conference call with them some evening and walk them through the setup if they need any pointers or help.
That would be golden, like a packet.
Yeah.
So,
So
guys, the other thing I want to bring up. So I guess I didn't realize that 2009 was actually the first year of the event, which means this year is the 15th anniversary, as long as my math is right. I know I brought it up a couple of times in the past, but I'm thinking for 15 years we should do shirts this year, and if we're gonna do them, I gotta get moving on that like pronto. Are folks interested in shirts? Or would I be doing it for like me?
I'd be
I'll
interested.
certainly buy one.
Anyone else?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear
Roger,
enough
Roger.
people.
KB5 LNC.
All right. Cool. I'm gonna do it. I have to find somebody to help create a logo. But I can go back to the place we used the last time. They were reasonable and did a decent job.
Well, can't you do a logo with your AI generation software you've been using?
I have tried, but I have not found anything. I have tried so many things to communicate APRS and packets, and unless you can help me come up with some wonderful keywords to use with AI generated art, I need to hire somebody.
Okay.
But I have not been able, I've been thinking about it for months and I have yet to come up with the magic combination to get something that would communicate what it is that we do.
Right.
But for any of our more abstract thinkers, if you guys think of any interesting keywords that could be used to generate art, I would love to just use the AI tool and not have to go pay somebody a couple $100 to do a logo.
Right.
Because that's what it costs.
Yeah, that's kind of expensive.
Actually, I think I got a deal from them the one I did a couple years ago. I think it was like, I want to say it was 50% off, so I think it was $100.
Well, you said we have 200 people that volunteered. Somebody's got to be an artist in there.
Yeah. So, all right. So we'll do shirts. Awesome. I kind of would like to have like a merchandise store that is just open year round where people can just go to. You want mugs, shirts, hats, whatever with the logo on it. You can order them.
Do we want that just for Golden Packet or for APRS in general?
Well, I think we'll do something for once the foundation, once we get anything else that we happen to be working on, but that's not a public discussion right now. All right, guys, anybody have anything else you want to go over? Because we're at 9 o'clock.
Two quick things. Not to beat a dead horse, but we have a takeaway where Lynn's going to help us set up APRS IS32 gateways, like in some of the QTHs off the trail in advance, and we'll test those at 9600 on the AT frequency. So Lynn, let's coordinate that. Maybe we can get it recorded as a video so that people that can't make the first session can watch the video. Because I know we got a couple here in Maine, we want to set that up. And if I could, Jason, you and I are going to have a separate Zoom right after this. Is that correct? Have you got the link? You're muted, Jason.
Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. Yeah, I've got the link.
Okay, cool. That's it for me. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Lynn, APRS capable of doing the SDR dongle?
You have to run the dongle through something like Direwolf. APRS IS32 expects a hardware or software TNC. It does not do audio at all on its own.
Okay. So if we use a audio, what's the name of that? Where it ports it over, that should work then if we bring it in, convert it over.
Yeah, you can use Sound Modem, you can use Direwolf, you can use Packet Engine Pro, any of the above. Direwolf is what I've seen most often used with SDRs.
Yeah, so I actually wrote a how-to, gosh, where the heck did I put that?
And I've been dying to ask John WB2 OSZ this question. If you set an SDR up feeding the audio into Direwolf, can you tell Direwolf to have a 1200 baud decoder and a 9600 baud decoder tapped into that same audio stream so that you're basically a dual baud receive only iGate.
Beautiful.
And WP2 OSC, if your mic's not working, I'm watching the chat. Oh, I
Let's
hear
try
now.
again. Currently, no.
Currently, no. Well, that's unfortunate. How hard would that be to pull off?
Not too terribly hard. I wouldn't want to make any promises for when it would be done.
Understood. Understood.
What
If
about two
one
instances
got,
of direwolf? Can they not both share the, what is this, a sound card interface?
yeah,
Ultimately?
well, that's what I was going to suggest. If you could come up with a an audio path splitter and tell Direwolf it just has two different audio devices it's listening to.
There are already pieces of software that will do audio path splitting out there, and then just run two
Yeah.
copies of Direwolf.
Or one copy talking to two different sound cards on two different channels.
Yeah, and then depending on what kind of SDR you're running, so I have an SDR play which only outputs IQ audio. So it's actually like a stream, a data stream. It's not actual like analog audio. So I wrote this document, gosh, a couple of years ago, on using the SDR play, and I think it was what is this, GQRX, to grab the stream and then send a UDP stream to Direwolf, and it worked beautifully.
And you could share that document on the website?
I sure can. I wrote it. I'm okay with sharing it.
That was going to be my question, John. Excellent.
Okay, so Lynn, I have a question for you, or anybody on the group. Because we're talking about only doing or starting off with 9600, I'm assuming that the majority of all like iGates that are out there in the world, probably 99% of them are only listening on 1200.
That's probably true, yes.
Yeah, so the idea of taking the 3.4 reach, digipeating it out on 3.9 won't work if the radio I have that I was planning on use doesn't do anything but 1200, or even if it did 9600, if there's nothing there that can do 96, I'd have to have my own setup, which I can do. It's just a matter of, can I have it, whatever I'm gonna connect the I'll probably do something like the 75, my D75 or D74 or something, or a second. I might actually take my second D710 and just set it up that way.
Okay.
Or something to connect into APRS and get, because cellular coverage is really good up there anyway, so I should be able to run my own iGate.
Excellent. That would be sweet.
Lynn, I know you're opposed to this, but the Y-gate on a Yaesu 9600 radio, is that a option for gating the traffic on 9600?
It would, but you're going to suffer the dupe suppression issues. And instead of running Y-gate, just run APRS IS32 and point it to your Yaesu radio and tell it you have a Yaesu FTM 350. APRS IS32 supports receive only through the Yaesu TNCs.
Okay, Roger.
And whenever you do those, I think John was talking about setting up for the local to set up the APRS 32 for an iGate. If you could put it out to the group or something, that would be great, because I'd like to join in on that, since I'd be setting that up for the first time on 9600 with the radio.
Yeah.
I think that might be a nice focus for doing gating for this event. Back to you, Lynn. I'm sorry.
That's fine. And you can actually do it today. If you've got the equipment, you can fire up APRS 32, put your radio on 144.390 and have a receive-only iGate up and running. And then come the event day, you just switch the baud rate appropriately and switch to the right frequency, and software doesn't change at all.
So quick question, Lynn. Right now, my little iGate at the house is really just taking an old realistic scanner on 144.39. Will that pick up? Because I'm using 1200. Will that pick up 96, or do I have to change some settings on 32 IP on your software to do that? Or
You do not have to change any settings on the software. You're running that scanner into some modem software. What modem software are you using?
is that like AG AP?
AGWPE Pro.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't believe it decodes 9600, and I doubt if your scanner audio is coming off the discriminator. So
Probably
it's
not.
it's unlikely that you'll be able to decode 9600
Okay.
with anything.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I figured I'll be the dumb guy asking the question on this one, but hopefully I actually knew the answer, so I was at least mostly good with that.
Well, my philosophy is the only dumb question is the one you've asked before and are expecting a different answer.
So,
As my CO in the squadron once said to, well, it wasn't me, but we were in the ready room, and somebody goes, "Sir, this might be a dumb question," and he said, to whoever it was, "There's no such thing as a dumb question, just stupid people asking them."
No, I think that would be a nice focused thing for us to have is doing the iGates for both 12 and 9600 and what we would need to do to set those up. Jeff, Lynn, that would be just future.
yeah, we could do that for one of the knowledge share calls
Yeah.
after the event.
Yeah.
Because
So-
it's amazing. Like we're what, like a little over 100 days away from the event, but these
101.
days are going to go by.
We only
very,
got three
very
more of
fast.
the, yeah, we only got three more knowledge sessions, May, June,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
July.
Yeah, no worries. No, it would be
And, I
great
mean-
because if everybody had that as an alternative purpose to set something up at their residence, that would be great to be able to gate both the 12 and 9600. So for Lynn's purpose for collecting data, just a thought.
And definitely want to include WB2OSZ into that discussion as well, because he knows far more about interfacing to the radios than I do.
Yeah, if we could make a simple, even with the SDR, I know the SDRs are they're good in some, but they're on 9600 they're very open. So it would be great to set up a simple way to port everything over and have a simple setup that people can do at their residence if it's close to the site.
Yep.
Hey, Jeff, Ron, quick question. I know you played with DigiPi, and I know there's other people. Because I've got the Pi 4 I'm setting up. I've got it. I haven't connected to the radio yet. But does that have the ability to do 96 so I could possibly use that as an iGate? Or
Well, yeah, so it's running Direwolf on it. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
okay. I
Well,
might
it
play with
depends
that
what
too,
your
because it's much smaller
depends
package.
it depends on what your radio is that's feeding Direwolf. If you're feeding Direwolf from a speaker output, it's not
No,
going to be able to
it's either
decode
going to be a
9600.
it's either going to be a D74 or D75.
Then with a D74 or D75, you don't need to feed Direwolf.
Yeah, you can just.
Oh,
go
that's
straight
right.
off the
That's right. I can
TNC.
just connect that right to APRS 32. That's right. Oh boy, I'm
Yep.
an it. Okay, that you can call me the idiot of the session
No,
today.
you gotta just
No?
gotta talk through these things. That's all.
Yeah,
With,
keep
there's
forgetting
so many
those are-
options.
I've
That was just
actually
a dumb question. No,
Yeah, I actually
just kidding.
when I was first setting it up for the very first time when I bought the 74 and the 710 back in 2020, I actually put both of them on the 1.4 or the 3.4 frequency, and I was running my D710 as a digipeater, and I was using my 74 connected to APRS 32 as an iGate. So I had it. So in other words, what I've been telling you, trying to figure out how to do, I've already done. I just need to switch them to 9600. That's all.
Right. And do you have an Android phone?
I have an Android tablet, but and I have an iPhone, but
Your Android tablet has Bluetooth?
yes.
With my test host application, which is actually APRS ISMO, but we're not going to go into why the name is different. You can actually pair your tablet to your D74 with Bluetooth
Okay.
and fire up my test host on your tablet and turn on Bluetooth, and you will have an iGate on your tablet if your tablet has internet access.
And if it doesn't, it'll be connected to my Verizon hotspot.
In which case it has internet access.
Yep. Well, I'll play with that. And if I get stuck, Lynn, sorry, I'll have to ask you questions.
And if you're wondering where to find test host, I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
You do have to enable non-store installs once you download that APK. And the only other trick you need to know is to get the buttons that let you get to the configuration. You tap the title bar that will appear when you fire that application up.
Okay. All right. I just opened the test host site and bookmarked it on my laptop, so I'll be able to get to it because I'll have to take it and get it over. I'll have to download it on my Android tablet.
Right.
Yeah.
Lynn, this is another dumb question. Does that work with SDRs, RTL SDRs?
Nope, it only works with Bluetooth KISS TNCs.
Roger.
Or Bluetooth D74s or Bluetooth D75s.
Mobilink?
Yes.
I'm laughing because crap, I have a Mobilink too.
I don't think the Mobilink does 9600, does it?
Oh, don't know. That's a good question.
The new one, the 4 does, yeah.
Okay.
Is that the one that came out in the last 6 months?
Roger.
Yeah, I have that one sitting right here.
Oh, APRS ISMO can talk to if you have an APRS appliance, like the Golden Packet appliance, and you go in and enable Bluetooth on the Direwolf instance, then you can actually use APRS ISMO to watch everything coming through your Direwolf on your APRS appliance and also gate it, as well as do the backhaul to my RF feed, because that's built into APRS ISMO as well as APRS IS32.
Oh. I may change my setup, my cheesy setup here at the house just to get more information so I can try and overload your servers, Lynn.
Oh, trust me, you won't.
No.
Power of the cloud.
So much.
Yeah. Yep.
Lynn, have you tried it with the DigiPi?
The DigiPi is an audio interface. No, DigiPi is the software image that runs like our APRS appliance.
Yes.
Does it offer a Bluetooth serial port profile to its Direwolf internally?
Yes.
Yes.
Then yes, as long as you pair to that Bluetooth, it will work fine. You just tell it it's a KISS only Bluetooth connection. My iGate here is actually a OpenTracker 2M, OT2M, with a Bluetooth to serial hanging off the serial port, and it's in KISS mode, and it's an old Samsung S5 smartphone, which is Wi-Fi only, that's running my test host application. That's my iGate. So anything that's a KISS TNC over Bluetooth.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to try there. Well, I am going to experiment.
Okay, Jeff, I think I'm done with
You think
my
you're done? I'm
soapboxes.
done. I'm done. Excellent. I made note of iGate configure or iGate session for future knowledge share.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I would just like to say, for this being, for the most part, an unscripted knowledge share, it's been an excellent knowledge share.
They tend to go better than the scripted ones for whatever reason.
Well, the reason is because we can focus on what people are asking about.
Exactly.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
works.
So what, I guess as far as like things to come over the next couple of months, we probably won't actually have, I don't know if we'll have the May or June knowledge shares or if we're just going to start up the help desk sessions. I don't know. Maybe need to discuss
Yeah,
that.
practice getting our equipment working. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe what we'll do is next month we'll spend the session going over how to test.
Yeah, and I think that would work good hand in hand with the iGating, because if everybody's testing their equipment and they have an iGate available, they can dual purpose their testing.
Yeah, we can actually have one radio doing the beaconing and then the other one gating it, and Lynn can, in theory, read it. I guess in theory, see it real time.
Yeah, I can see it in real time, but they can also see it because they're going to be gating to the APRS IS as well.
Yeah.
So they should be able to see their station's packets on APRS.FI's raw packet display.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
generally where I go to see if I'm hitting the International Space Station.
Lynn, I would guess that I mean you're probably only going to cover like the APRS IS-32 aspect of this. So as far as if we were to cover that during the knowledge share next month, while we're talking about radio config, I mean, is there like, do you have like a list of prerequisites that people would need to come to the meeting with already? You know, we've already done this, so we're ready to jump right into APRS IS-32 so that we're not going through and having to help people get to that point.
The thing is, the people that aren't at that point are going to need help to get to that point, and the people that are at that point are already at that point. I mean,
Got it.
people that already have their D74 running, they already have Direwolf running, they've already got audio interfaces to their radios. It's a tap in. People that don't have that aren't going to be able to get that before the meeting anyway.
Okay.
Or it's
I'm just
unlikely
trying to
that
think
they
of
will.
what we can do to get people to come to the meeting as prepared as possible.
Yeah. Have an operating APRS station would probably be the best way to put it. But I don't know. Caught me off guard with that question, Jeff.
That's okay. Sorry.
So Jeff, I would just suggest prerequisite to next month's meeting. Just send something out there. If anybody needs to get to that point, maybe reach out to Lynn. I'm sorry, Lynn. But
Reach out to the
reach
group.
out.
Well, we can help as a collective, right? So
Yeah,
I don't want to put
yeah.
it all on Lynn.
Get them to that point where next month we want to try to test this at this level, and then
Yeah.
get people that aren't familiar with it, get them familiar with it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, point them to the Discord, tell them to reply back to the group, and that way anyone can jump in with suggestions. It doesn't all have to be me.
Yep.
Roger, Roger.
Yeah, Lynn, I would ask that if people do come directly to you, please redirect them back to the group.
Oh, I'm good at that. When I get private messages about APRS IS-32, it's like, yeah, you need to post this to the group, because another one of my mantras, everyone that asks a question, there's going to be 10 people interested in the answer.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes. And search before you ask questions.
I don't even push that, because one of my goals of the APRS IS-32 wiki is that eventually every single question should be answered with a single wiki link.
There you go. That's pie in the sky for a wiki.
I'm 10 years into it and I'm nowhere near that.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Okay.
2-hour call. Awesome.
Thank you all very much.
Have a great night. We'll
All
talk
righty.
soon.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Night, everybody.
Night, John Bull.
Burning 3.